The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the August webinar, which will consist of a tutorial of the newly released Personal Financial Portal. We appreciate all of you taking the time to join us today. This webinar is part of our monthly webinar series, and today we will be taking a look at the Personal Financial Portal, a simple and secure online location where you can monitor the financial components of your life. We will be providing an overview of the tools offered through the Personal Financial Portal, how to use these resources to help you better organize your financial life, and how they can help you make more informed investment and lifestyle decisions. A few housekeeping items before we get started. First, please note that in order to ensure everyone has the ability to hear the information presented by our speaker, everyone will be on mute during the webinar. During the presentation, feel free to write in any questions you have using the Q&A link on the webinar menu. Then, at the end of the presentation, we will take some time to go through these. With that said, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Troy Hammond, President and CEO at Pensionmark. Troy is a published author on retirement plans and has been acknowledged as a premier retirement planning consultant. He's also frequently featured in industry publications and as a panelist on current retirement plan issues. I would like to thank Troy for taking the time to join us today. And with that said, Troy, I'll now turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Christine. I appreciate it. And as Christine said, I appreciate everybody's time today. You know, I don't get the opportunity to do a lot of webinars, you know, this was a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and I kind of kicked and screamed and begged to do this one. I think it's one of the most valuable services that we have rolled out in the last couple of years. And we're really excited about the functionality and the benefits of our portal. As Christine mentioned, if you have questions throughout, please enter them in the chat area. We will address them at the end. You know, we live in a world of, you know, one-touch easy access. You know, iPhones, I'd say BlackBerries, but they're kind of going out of favor. iPads, you know, different tablets, Samsung phones. But, you know, a world where everything in our lives is becoming simple and easy and kind of one-touch access. And the one part of our lives that hasn't really come to fruition is our financial part. And, you know, finances are one of the most important part of our lives. And it's interesting that there really hasn't been kind of a way to simplify that. And that was really the genesis of our Personal Financial Portal, is a way to, again, organize and simplify your financial life in a way that's easy, kind of one touch, one place, mobile access, etc. And I'm going to go over a couple quick bullet items here, and then I'm actually going to go into a demo and just kind of walk you through everything. Again, as Christine mentioned at the beginning, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box, and we want to make sure we address those. So, real quick overview. What's the purpose of the portal? Well, one thing, it monitors all your accounts in one location, and that it's not just your 401k. It could be other retirement accounts you have, IRAs, brokerage accounts, checking, savings, etc. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Everything's updated in real time. That's one of the key functions that we needed to have in this is the ability to link your accounts, and once they're linked, to have those accounts just automatically updated for you. I'm going to show you that in a second as well. You can track your spending habits, monitor your cash flow, you can create budgets. There's a whole workshop section, and again, I'm going to go through most of this today. Mobile access, we don't have time today to go through a web demo on the mobile access. Just know that if you have a smartphone of any type, you can access your financial portal on that smartphone. It's a limited version. It doesn't, you know, the iPad, if you use it on an iPad or another tablet, you'll get the full version that I'm going through today. Obviously on an iPhone or a smart device, it's smaller so that the screens are kind of reformatted to fit the mobile device. But again, it's great because it's a simple one-stop access to all your finances. There's tons of reporting. I'm going to show you some of those examples: cash flow, retirement investments, and more. And then we're not going to spend a lot of time on it today, but you can track other things like frequent flyer miles, hotel rewards, credit card points. And so if you really want to dig into some of the ancillary benefits of the site, you can do that as well. So with that, I'm actually going to go right into the portal demo. So the easiest way to access the portal is actually through our website, and that's pensionmark.com. If you haven't set up your portal yet, it's very easy. Just call into our customer service line, and you can see that 800 number here. I'm also going to show you that at the end of the presentation, or you could just email us at info@pensionmark.com, and we'll get you set up. But the easiest way, as I mentioned, to access the portal is probably to go through our website. So this is basically our home screen here, pensionmark.com. I'm going to talk about these videos in a second. If you scroll down, there's actually some videos you can link to that tell you a little bit about our portal, talk about the mobile features and the security, and I'm going to go through that in a bit. But you see this little link here on the right, it says log into your personal financial portal. That's where you're going to want to click, and it's going to take you to a login screen. So what I'm going to do here is log into our sample account. And hope I typed it in correctly here. And it's going to take you into the intro screen. So I'm going to actually come back to the screen and kind of highlight some of the things as we go along. But one of the nice things about this is supposed to be basically a dashboard, kind of a snapshot of where you're at today. And again, I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper to some of these things. I'm going to first kind of show you how to get set up and set up all your accounts and link all your accounts so they show up over here. These are categorized. Up on the middle top here, you have a quick net worth statement, assets, liabilities. Any of these screens, you can see these little arrows off to the left and right. You can click through and it's going to show you different ways to look at that information. So you can see this is your historical net worth. This is your net worth in cash versus debt, and then it kind of starts all over again with the charting. On the upper right are your investments. Again, things that are valued on a daily basis, they're going to automatically be updated. I'm going to show you how that works in a second. For publicly traded mutual funds, stocks, things like that, anything that's valued throughout the day, you're actually going to get real-time updates throughout the day. So if you were to look at this individual fund, it's actually up 0.11% today. So that's a nice feature. Again, real-time updating. And you can kind of, again, click through, look at historical investment data, look at different ways to look at your investments. So we're going to be able to dig a lot deeper into this stuff in a second. Spending. This is your spending dashboard. Kind of shows you what you spent this month. It'll break it out for you into recent transactions, and it'll show you a breakdown of income versus expenses. You got your budgeting over here, and I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Your insurance information is down to the bottom middle there. And on the bottom right is kind of the everything else. So there's a link to the awards screen. You're going to see this nice lady periodically scattered throughout the website. And you know, anytime you have a question, she's there to answer it. Obviously, you'll see our customer support line here, the 888 number, as well as our info@pensionmark.com. And anytime you have questions, you can certainly call us. But she has great little 2, 3, 4-minute tutorials on each of the sections. So just know that if you're at a section and you see that, you can certainly click on that. She's going to walk you through that. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of the dashboard. And again, as I mentioned, we're going to go through a lot more detail as we go along today. Okay, I'm going to start with the second tab on top, the Organizer tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through real quickly how to get set up. The first section here are your accounts. And what's great about the portal, and one of the things that was critical to us when we established this, is we wanted to make it so that you only had to link your accounts one time. So what you basically do, and we've got some sample accounts in here, but I'm going to show you real quickly how you would go through the process of adding your account. So you click this Add button, and you essentially type in the institution's name or website address. So, you know, for example, there's some Fidelity accounts in this one, so we'll pull up Fidelity. It'll give you some Fidelity links. And Fidelity has a lot of different companies. So is it your 401k? Is it your checking account with Fidelity, et cetera? And you would click on the appropriate one. It's going to ask for username and password. Once you put in that username and password, it's going to connect your account. It may ask for a couple additional pieces of security if the website requires that. But the setup is pretty simple. Once you've linked your account, unless something changes on the institution level, you'll never have to link it again. So that was, again, one of the things we really tried to do from a simplicity perspective is we wanted you to be able to link your accounts but only have to do it one time. Now, let me talk for a second about security. One of the things that I showed you on the home screen there was that we have a security video available to you, and if you're worried about that, I would recommend looking at that. It's only a couple minutes long. You can also go to YouTube, and if you type in Personal Financial Portal, if I can type, you'll see that we have a series of videos on YouTube as well, and one of those is about the security, this one right here, the second one, the security of the portal. But let me walk you through the way the security link is done, and for those of you who have met me before, you know I'm a recovering computer science major, so this stuff is obviously very relevant to me. But these are non-transactional data links, and the way that they're set up and established, the username and password, once the link is made with your institution, the username and password are deleted. The link with the institution remains, and it's a non-transactional link, so no transactions can be conducted on that link. Only data can be transferred. So what that means to you is if this system, and we use a system through eMoney, it's the same security technology that Fidelity and Mint.com and Quicken and all the other groups use. But if for some reason this system was hacked, which it never has been before, there's really nothing that they could take, meaning there's no usernames or passwords stored on this system. The links are established. Once the links are established, the username and passwords are dropped. So when I say you'll never have to link the data again, I put an asterisk by that because there are situations where your institution may change their website, and that happens periodically. They may change their security, or they may change the way you log in. And if that happens, you're going to log into your personal financial portal, and you're going to see a little error message, and it's going to say, hey, for example, on this Fidelity account, it appears that the login information has changed. You need to just do it again. And you click on it, you put your username and password in, and it relinks you and reestablishes that link. It doesn't happen that often, but it's just something to be aware of. That's for your protection. Again, the system does not store username and password, so if that link gets broken, it's going to ask you to put that in again. So good news, once you've established all your accounts, again, they're updated in real time. What types of accounts can you link? Pretty much everything that has a website. So that could be your 401k, any previous 401k rollovers you have, any IRAs, any brokerage accounts, your checking accounts, savings accounts. If you have insurances, whether that's life insurance, health, medical insurance that has any cash value component to it, property insurance, vehicle insurance. I mean, you can pretty much put anything in here that you have a username and password to. And again, the idea is to kind of consolidate everything and make it a lot easier, have one place that you can access everything. Once you've set up your accounts, I'm going to go over to this little home. You'll see on the right there's a picture of a home. And I'm going to start going through these tabs, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes, and I'm going to fill in all the pertinent information. And the reason I want to do that is when I get to the workshops and things, I'm going to have much better results. So I would recommend to everybody, when you go in and you set this portal up, spend a half hour, link your accounts, and go through all these tabs and answer all the questions. You'll just get a lot more value out of it. And again, if you ever have any questions, certainly reach out to us. But this is where you'd put any real estate, property, business, etc. This third tab down here is where you would put essentially your family members. So in this case, it's a husband, wife, 2 children. This fourth tab is nice. This is your professional contacts. So the first one is always going to be us. And again, you'll see this scattered throughout the site. We want to make sure you have easy access to us if you have questions. But down here, you can add other contacts as well. So I'll give you an example of me personally. I was actually the first one to demo this site. I've been on it for over a year now. And I have my CPA and my attorney that are under the professional contacts. And when it comes to tax time, my CPA can actually go into the portal here and access most of the information he needs to do my taxes. So it saves me a lot of time, energy, and effort going back and forth with him. But again, you can put as many contacts as you want in here, and those contacts you can actually limit the information they can see. One of the things I didn't mention on the home screen, I'm going to pop back there real quickly. The spending data, and I'm going to go through that in a little bit more detail in a second. We cannot see that data. So one of the things that we wanted to do with this portal is give us the ability to help you more. So if you have questions about your retirement, you can call us. We can log in and we can see values, account values, but we can't see your spending data. Now you could go in and turn that on for us if you felt the need, if you felt that we needed that information to help you. But spending can be a personal thing that people may not want everybody to know where they're spending their money. So for that, the security, and it's actually built at the provider level, we cannot access your spending or budget data unless you turn that feature on for us. So that being said, I'm going to go back to the professional contacts section. You can limit what these professional contacts see. You can turn on and off certain things. So just keep that in mind as you're establishing the account. Talk real quickly about income and expenses. This is where you would put, and in this case, we've got a husband and wife. They're both earning income, so we've got 2 salaries there. And then you've got all your living expenses. And what's great about this, and it really helps when we get to the budgeting and when we get to the financial planning, the kind of forward-looking data. I wouldn't go in and put this data in unless you have some extra time and you really want to use this stuff right out of the blocks, because what's neat about this is put in your income data and then let this thing use the portal for a couple months. And what's going to happen is you're going to be able to go in and click this estimate from spending button. And what's going to happen is the system's going to say, oh, you know what? Based on what you actually spend, we can actually do we can estimate your annual living expenses based on what you actually spend. And of course, the more data you have, the better. So after you've got a year or 2 of data in there, this data gets very, very accurate. This is going to be very helpful as we go through and I talk about, again, future valuing and trying to figure out if you're on track for retirement. Knowing what you're spending today is a critical component of that. So again, one of the nice features of having all your accounts linked to this is you can just click this button and have the system do an estimate of what your spending is. The future goals section, you can drop things in there like, if your kids are going to go to college, if you have a major expense that you have coming up, or like a wedding or something like that, you can drop that information in as well. You can order your priorities, and this will actually help when we start doing some of the workshops, but it's all click and drag. So as an example, these are Mary's priorities. Mary might say, ensuring my assets is my #1 priority. I'm going to drag that to the top. Or maybe planning for retirement is my #1 priority. Oh gosh, saving for college is going to be my 2nd priority. So you can see as I'm clicking and dragging, very easy to reorder these. And then there's actually a bunch more priorities you can access, and you can click and drag these in and out as as your situation changes. And this will impact the results of the workshops. And last but not least is your risk tolerance questionnaire. It's pretty simple. It's a 12-question survey. If you have any questions about it, certainly call us. But go through, if you own a home, how much equity do you have? Are you full, part-time, retired, unemployed? So again, you go through and you answer these 12 questions, and this will help to give a basis on the workshop section of the website. Once you've done all of these tabs on the right, you're really set up. Again, the only real updating you'll need to do is if your financial situation changes. Again, once in a while, a institution may change their security or change their website, and you'll have to go in and put your username and password in again. But besides those situations, you're really kind of set up. So let me talk. I'm going to go back to workshops. That's kind of one of the really cool things about the functionality. But I'm going to go over to spending real quick and kind of walk you through some of the things you can do there and talk about some investments. And then we'll go back to the workshops and show you how that all ties together. So after you've been on the portal for a while, you're going to have some pretty good aggregate data. And what's great about that is, similar to what you'd see in, say, a Quicken program, you have the ability to go in and really do some comprehensive financial reporting on yourself. And what's neat about this is, so for instance, this is showing your spending for this month. You can look at different time frames. You can do custom time frames. But what it will do is it will actually break out your spending by category. And you can see the little pie charts kind of pop out there as you go over them. It will break it out by category. You can click on that category and find a detail, and I clicked on unclassified, which of course is a boring one. But what's neat about this is it is looking at all of your accounts together. So it's looking at your checking, savings, credit cards, because again, you can link credit cards into here. So it's not just looking at your spending from one of your accounts. It's looking at your spending across all of the accounts that you spend money on. And again, as you go through here, you can kind of say, well, show me a breakdown. You can go into each individual category and you can look at a breakdown of how that money's being spent. So I clicked on auto and transport. You can see that there's fuel and servicing. So really nice way to kind of figure out where you're spending your money. Sometimes this might be a little depressing when you realize how much you're spending on certain things. You can go into the view category. Right now it's broken out by category. You can do a history. You can also do budget analysis. So there's all sorts of ways you can kind of dissect this information. And I'm not going to spend hours going through it today, but just know that you have a lot of access and a lot of ways you can kind of break down your spending. And then over here on the right, you can obviously look at it. Right now it's looking at all accounts, but you can break it out specifically by your check. In this case, there's a checking, a savings, and a credit card. Most of us have more than that, unfortunately. Right now it's aggregating everything, but if you wanted to just look at one of those accounts, you could just break it down by that individual account. So that's this spending overview tab. The second tab is your budgets. And what's great about this is, to really get control of your financial life, budgeting is a very, very critical part of that. Knowing what you're spending and planning for what you should be spending, and then am I on track with my budget or not? And again, what's great about this is you can go in and you can manually build a budget. So you can say, this is what I want to spend on each thing. Or what you can do is you can have the system automatically create a budget for you. So you click this Add a Budget button, and based on your historical spending, the system will actually create a budget for you. Then you can go in and say, all right, based on what I normally spend, here's my budget. But you know what? I'm spending too much money on this or too much money on that. I want to modify those and maybe try to lower my expenses in those categories. So the system can create a budget for you, but what's great about it is you can then go in and you can modify that budget as you see fit. And again, you can look at different time frames. There are a lot of different ways you can, you can kind of slice and dice this data. But I would encourage you, maybe not the first time you log in and use this. I'd get some data in there first, but I would certainly encourage you to take advantage of the budgeting tools. So let's take a real quick look at the transactions, because you can actually drill down into, you know, each and every transaction across all your accounts. So let me spend a couple minutes on this. This is actually showing, first of all, I'm going to start here in the middle. It's showing all of your accounts together. So that's a real neat function of the website, is the ability to say, you know, I'm looking at my checking account, my credit card. If you have a savings account, if you have multiple credit cards, it can aggregate all of those accounts together, and it's really a nice way to monitor your spending. But you can break it out by individual accounts as well. You can go up here and click on, you know, I just want to look at transactions through my checking account, or I just want to look at transactions through my savings accounts, etc. You can also modify the date range. This is just showing the last 30 days. You can do last 90 days. You can do specific time periods, specific date ranges. So it's really nice if you're looking for a specific transaction. I use this a lot personally if I'm looking for a specific transaction, and I kind of forget that if I did it on a credit card or via check, or, you know, you can look for specific date ranges. You can also look via category, so you can say, well, you know, I want to know, you know, specifically what I'm spending on, you know, my auto payment or something like that. And in this case, there's no auto payment transactions, but you can go by category as well. So the other thing you can do is you can search for payments. So again, you might say, well, you know, how much am I spending on staples? So I'm gonna look that up. And again, the beauty of this is, you know, the system will search back as long as you want to search. You can still customize the date range. You can customize the account. You can customize the category, and you can search for specific items. And in this case, you can see it's pulling it from multiple accounts. Another really nice feature of this system, and for those of you that use Quicken or Microsoft Money or one of the other financial programs, is the ability to categorize your transactions. And you'll see the system has some default categories, and they're not always right. And I kind of cheated on this StrideRite and changed it to gas and fuel as an example. But you know, the system goes through the history of kind of everyone's spending and says, all right, cash withdrawal, people tend to categorize that as cash or ATM. IRS, people tend to categorize that as federal tax. But you might run into situations where the system either will give you a miscellaneous or unclassified category, or it categorizes it incorrectly. And what you can do is you can actually just go in here and say, well, you know what, this is clothing. So I'm going to say kids clothing specifically for this one. Not only can you do that, you can actually create rules. So you can say, you know what, not only am I going to change this StrideRite to kids clothing, but I'm going to actually say every time you see the name StrideRite, I want you to change the category to clothing, and it'll apply that across every single StrideRite transaction that you have. So, and also transactions moving forward. So you don't have to keep going in and reclassifying and recategorizing. You know, the system will get smart, and it will learn what your transactions are. Really, the only thing on an ongoing basis, once you've done enough of these transactions, that you're going to have to classify is if there's a check that comes in, because it will just kind of say check number, and you'll have to identify what that check number was for. So there's also a way you can go into the categories here, and you can manage your rules. So you may have set up in the past different rules depending on you know, certain names, and you've applied certain categories, and then down the road that may change, and you have the ability to go in. You can apply, modify your rules. You can order your rules, so you can say, well, this rule is actually more important than this rule, so apply this rule first, and so you can really get kind of fine-tuned on this auto categorization system. You can also exclude certain accounts if you say, well, you know, I don't want you to use these rules on this account or on that account. Here, investments. You can actually break out kind of the same thing you did on spending. You can kind of do the same thing on your investments. So you can go back and look at your historical balance history, and this is across all of your accounts. So in this case, we're showing a Fidelity 401k, we're showing a Fidelity brokerage, and a Great West rollover IRA. So all of these accounts are kind of adding up, and they're showing you what your balance history has been. Again, you can go in here and you can look at one specific account. You don't have to look at all of the accounts together. This is just a quick summary. You can go on this allocation tab and you can see exactly how your accounts are allocated between large cap, mid cap, small cap. Again, you can go into individually these categories and break it out even more. So you can say, well, show me what my holdings are in my large cap, and it will actually break it out for you and show you what percentage and how you've done with those different investments. So there's just a lot of ways to slice and dice the information. And again, what's great about it is because you've linked all of your accounts together, you don't have to update this all the time. It's being updated in real time for you. You can do some analysis long-term. You can do 3-month analysis, 6-month. And again, because this is a dummy account, you're not going to see the charting. But you can actually go in here and you'll be able to see your performance history, 3-month, 6-month, 1-year, lifetime for either all of your accounts together or individual accounts. And then just like you can do on your checking, savings, credit cards, etc., you can go in and you can look at the transaction histories. So, when you bought and sold, etc. So probably more information than you want, but you've got a lot of data that you can slice and dice in different ways on the investment side. I'm going to go back to the vault in a second, go over to the reporting. You've kind of seen some of the reporting as we've gone through, but there's a lot more available to you. If you go down to this little pull down up in the upper left, you'll see a balance sheet, asset allocation, which we've already looked at. You can do an insurance summary, a net worth statement, and again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see there's a tremendous amount of reporting you can build and run in here. So as an example, I'll just look at the net worth statement. This is a nice little snapshot of where you're at today. It shows your assets and liabilities and kind of your net worth at the end. These are great tools. Accountants love these things. This sort of data really makes it easier to do things like put together your taxes and things like that. So tons of reporting available to you. You can set up favorites, so you can go through and find 2 or 3 or 4 reports that you really like and put them in your favorites list. I'm going to spend a couple minutes on the vault here. There is a document vault that gives you the ability to store important documents. So as an example, if you bought a house, you might want to put the escrow documents in there. If you have life insurance, you may want to put your life insurance documents in there. Financial plan, you may want to put your financial plan in there. Again, anything that's kind of related to your finances, it gives you one simple, secure place to put all this stuff. And I'll tell you, I'm married and I do all of the finances for our family. And this has been, this whole website has been a huge benefit to my family because, my spouse just didn't have an understanding of the finances. And it's not that she doesn't understand money, it's just that I'm the one who does all the finances. And now I can sit down with her and I can walk through this website with her and say, look, everything you need to know is here. All of our accounts are here. All of the important financial documents that you'll need, all the life insurance, everything is all here in one place if something ever happens and you need to access it. So it's been a really, really nice kind of help me sleep at night sort of thing, having this website for us and having the ability to put all of this stuff in one place. So before I go into the workshop, I am going to point out one more thing up here. There is an education center. If you ever want to go in and just kind of do some personal study, if you will, and I know we all have so much time to do extra homework here, but there's tons of information about investment planning, insurance planning, and retirement planning, and there's some great videos and reading materials. So I just point that out if you're interested, it's there. So let me go back to a tab that I skipped here, the workshop tab. And what's really neat about this and what it helps us to help you is this is my favorite button, the Are You Saving Enough for Retirement button. And if you click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to kind of take all of your financial information and give you an analysis if you're on or not on track for retirement. And what's great about this is what differentiates it, if you will, from what you would get on your 401k website or maybe your IRA website, is those are looking at just one component of your financial life. And if you really want to do a comprehensive analysis of, are you saving enough for retirement? Are you on track? You really need to look at everything. You need to look at all the accounts you have, all the cash. You need to look at all the spending that you have. And let's do a much, much better analysis, much more comprehensive analysis if you're on or not on track. And what's nice about that is because everything's in one place, you can kind of look at a lot of different ways to solve the problem. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So first of all, in any of these arrows you see, you can click on and they'll expand. So it's showing a life expectancy of 89. You can click and drag and change that. And we're assuming that both Stephen and Mary want to retire at age 65. Well, at their current savings rate and with their current investments, they only have 21 of their 32 years funded. That's a problem. So we got to figure out how we're going to fix that. And I'm going to show you a bunch of ways to do that. By the way, on this right-hand side, there's different ways to view this data. You can do what's called a traditional drawdown graph, where it will show you, the blue lines are your assets, and the red line is what you're withdrawing, and you can see that eventually you get to zero here. You can actually click on any of these columns, and it will give you detailed information on it. But I'm going to go back to this one. This is kind of a simple snapshot view of are you on track or not. So you can, any of these bars are actually dynamic, meaning I can go in and say, all right, well, you know what if we waited for Stephen to retire till he was 68? Well, guess what? That solves the problem. Pretty easy. I kind of made that a simple one. Stephen may say, well, I don't want to do 68. I'm okay pushing it out to 66, but I'm not going further than that. All right, well, at 66, that buys us a few more years. We still have a little bit of a shortfall, but we can address that. So you can kind of dynamically move those around. Let's talk about your expenses. This is, again, I think a huge advantage over what you would see in a traditional financial planning website. Most financial planning, calculators will say, you know what, Steve, give me an estimate of what you're going to be spending when you're 65. That's a really hard question. What am I going to be spending at 65? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm spending now. How am I supposed to understand what I'm going to be spending? Well, what this system can do is, again, because you have your checking and your savings and you have your credit card information in here, the system can actually estimate what your retirement savings will be. So in most cases in retirement, people spend about 80% of their current pre-retirement spending limit. You can actually modify this. You can say, well, I want to be, I want to spend 100%. I want to be, or maybe even 120%. I want to have a really rich retirement. Or you can say, you know what, I plan on living with my kids when I retire, and I'm only going to need 70%. The system defaults to 80. I think 80 is a good starting point. But again, what it does is it's taking your current actual spending and it's using that to future value what the estimate is of what you're going to need at retirement. And boy, that hurt our numbers, didn't it? We had an estimate of $65,000. When we actually looked at what we really need to spend at retirement, it created a more of a shortfall. You can go into the savings tab here. And again, what's neat about this is here's all of the investment accounts you have linked. You can check the ones that you've identified for retirement. So in this case, Fidelity 401k, Fidelity Brokerage, Great West Rollover IRA, these three accounts have been designated as retirement accounts. These are not. Those first two are just checking and savings, and this one down here, I really don't want to use my house for retirement, although you could. And if you did that, it's obviously going to change the numbers. That's a dangerous move, obviously. Let's assume today we're not going to do that. But you can click and unclick on your various accounts to define where they fit. And I'll show you why that's important in a second as we look at one of the other workshops. You can go into the monthly contribution screen and you can say, okay, well, you know what? I know that if I save more, that's going to help. I'm only putting away 500 now. I'm going to bump that up to 800, and I have a 50 cent on the dollar match. And Mary's going to bump up her contribution to 500, and that's going to help a little bit. And we're going to put another 100 away in after-tax investments. Okay, so that helped us a little bit. So you can modify what you're putting away. It's going to give you these little kind of tips in these blue boxes. It says, hey, by the way, if you put another $846 away, you're going to meet your retirement savings. Okay, great. Well, I don't have 848 extra dollars right now, so I'm going to have to do probably a combination of some of these things. Retirement income. What other sources of income are you going to get? We have Social Security. It defaults to being on. And again, what's great about this system, it can actually look at what your income level is, and it can say, based on your income, you should get a Social Security benefit of $28.62. So you can say, use this estimate. Same thing for Mary. Based on her income, use this estimate. So you can actually integrate Social Security into this, and it will give you a Social Security estimate based on the current Social Security factors. Any other benefits you may get if you have a pension plan or you're going to receive an inheritance or something like that, you can also put that data in, and that will obviously change the values. And then we have our inflation and growth rates. And this is a nice kind of protection system, if you will. One quick way to solve my shortfall would be to just get a better return. So if my growth rate's at 7.5, I'm going to shoot it to 10 or 9. And if I can get 9%, well, I'm funded. Great. Well, you see this little exclamation point warning sign that popped up. And it said, you know what? You're saying 9%, but based on the way you've answered the questions and your risk tolerance and based on your current financial situation, 9% is probably too high for you. In fact, the highest portfolio rate you should probably put in there 7.44. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there because that's a more realistic estimate of a growth rate that I could expect to receive. It doesn't mean that you can't modify that. You have the ability to go in and change all this data. But again, the system's going to kind of pop these warnings up to you and say, hey, you know what, Steve, I know you want 9%, but I'm not sure that's a realistic return for you. So you can see we've made a couple adjustments in here, and all of a sudden we've got 25 of 31 years funded. I'm feeling a little bit better than I felt when I first got in here. And then down here it gives you, at the bottom left, some ideas. You know, hey, here's some ideas to get you to full 31 years. You can increase the amount you're saving. You could reduce your retirement expenses. You could delay your retirement. So there's a lot of different ways, if you will, that you can kind of go in and fill that gap. Don't be discouraged if the gap isn't filled from day one. You know, if you go in here and solve all of the world's problems in one day, that's pretty aggressive. You know, going in here and making minor adjustments and trying to slowly close this gap, that's what we're trying to give you the tools and resources to do. And then everywhere you'll on this site, you'll see this next step button. And I always say, you know, go into that. Again, it's going to drive you to our customer support center. We're here to help. We want to walk you through these processes. We want to help you get retirement ready. We want to help you retire with dignity, and the way to do that is to understand your finances and to build a plan, and that's really what we're trying to do here. I want to show you one more thing real quickly, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. There are other workshops in here, so there's an insurance workshop, which I'm not going to go through today, and then there, for example, is this college workshop. And boy, if you want to get depressed, I did this for my kids. It's really depressing. College funding is expensive. So, but you can do the same thing, same sort of kind of financial analysis, if you will, on college education funding that you did for your retirement funding. So you can go in here and you can select basically any school in the country. It's going to pull in the current annual expected expenses for that school. You can identify when you estimate those expenses to start and for how long. And again, it's going to give you a strategy. It's going to say, okay, Well, if you want your son, Chucky, to go to Berkeley, and you live in California, so that's an in-state school, you're going to have to save $31,000 of today's dollars per year for 4 years. And so we need to build a plan for you. And you can see it's very similar to what you saw in the other one. You can add in any financial aid that you think you're going to get. This is where you'd identify checking and savings account, or investment accounts that you've set aside for that. Now, I can't check my Fidelity brokerage or 401k or IRA. You see this little exclamation point. Those have been already assigned to my retirement plan. So that's why I wanted to kind of highlight this is all your accounts are going to pull in here, but you can't assign accounts to both, retirement and college education funding. You need to define where that's going. So it kind of prevents you from false data. But again, you put in the savings and growth rates and the contributions, and it's going to do the same sort of analysis for you. And again, I'm not going to go through it today, but you also have the ability to go in and do some insurance analysis. So I went through that quickly. I wanted to kind of make sure that I covered all the hot topics, but I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I think the dashboard will make a lot more sense now. Having gone through the organizer, having gone through the investment analysis, the budgeting, etc., I think the dashboard probably will make a little more sense for you now. And again, so what on this bottom left, you're going to see kind of a highlight of all your accounts. Your net worth data and history is up here. Your investments are over here to the upper right. Your spending is in the middle. Your budgeting's to the lower right. All your insurance stuff's in the bottom middle, and your awards are at the bottom right. And if you click on any of these things, you can go into those screens that I've shown you before. So for example, if you want to look at your accounts, you click there, and it's going to take you right to the organizer section on your accounts. So I hope this has helped everybody to understand and kind of get a good overview for the portal. Kind of to wrap up what I've said in the beginning, the whole goal of us offering this to our clients is to help you to, in a world where everything is, one touch, and we're trying to add simplicity to our lives. We wanted to have a place where you could do that from a financial perspective, where you could pull all of your financial accounts, all of your financial knowledge and data into one simple, easy access place that helps you to better understand where you're spending, better help you build budgets, and more importantly, really help you build a comprehensive plan to get what we call retirement ready, meaning when you're age 65 or 63 or 66, whenever you plan on retiring, to be confident that you're on track to maintain the standard of living that you want to maintain. And we tried to make it as easy as possible, again, so that the accounts are updated automatically for you. But we wanted to make it comprehensive enough where it looked at everything. So we're very excited about it. Again, on our end, we can see the investment data, and so if you want to call us and walk through the workshops with us, we can do that for you. We do not have access to the spending or budgeting, although if for some reason you feel we need that data, you can turn that on for us, but we don't have access to that data. But normally we don't need it to do what we in terms of helping you, what we need to do in terms of getting you on track and defining some strategies to help maybe close that shortfall gap. So with that, I hope there's some questions out there. I'm going to open it up to questions. I don't know if Christine's going to pop back on. I think the questions go to her, and then she forwards them over to me. But please ask any questions you have. Again, there's videos on YouTube or on our website if you want more information as well. And the questions, you can put those into the chat screen, because as a reminder, everybody's muted. All right, I'm not seeing any questions come through. So at this point, what I will do, unless a question pops up here as I'm closing, I want to thank everybody for taking the time today. As you go through and you establish your financial portal, Again, I showed you all throughout the website, our 800 numbers scattered throughout there, and a link to our support centers scattered throughout there. So as you go through and you establish and get involved in your financial portal and you have questions, please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We want everybody to really use this and use it to help them better understand and better plan for their financial future.
Hi, Troy. I think we just got back on. So thank you so much for all that. That was all great information. So we'll now start addressing some of the questions that have been filtering in. Sorry for a few technical difficulties here. Please remember that if you do have any questions, you can submit them using the Q&A tool on the webinar menu. And as always, for any plan-specific questions, you can always reach out to your dedicated service team here at Pensionmark. So as we wait for a few more questions to filter in, I'd like to take a minute to let everyone know that you can stay up to date on the latest retirement plan news and events via Pensionmark's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. In addition, we'll be posting a copy of this webinar on our website, on the Investor Education Center, as well as our YouTube page within 10 business days. With that said, I'll move on to our question. Troy, can you let everyone know how do we verify if this program is offered to individuals, and if so, where would they call or email to get that all set up?
Okay, the best thing to do if you are wondering if your plan offers this feature to you, I mean everybody who has a plan at Pensionmark has this feature, so I would say the easiest way to do that is to just call us. We can pull up a list, a report, if you will, of everybody who has an existing account. If you don't have an account, we have access to the data to see if you can set one up, and if you can, we'll set one up for you. So again, easiest thing to do, I would say, is probably to call in to our customer support center. You can also send us an email if you want to do that, and our support center hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, all time zones. So that's going to be the easiest way to get you started if you don't have a portal account set up currently.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Troy. A few other questions that have been filtering in. How does the spending get categorized?
Okay, good question. What the system will do is it will take essentially data from other users. So as an example, I used that StrideRite example. If a bunch of people are categorizing StrideRite as children's clothing, then the system will kind of get smart and say, okay, we think that that's children's clothing. So it will default. As you have charges coming in, the system will automatically default to what it thinks your certain transactions are. And then you can go in and you can review those, and you can say, okay, you know what, I want to go in and I want to categorize, for instance, I know Staples Valley Forge, well, that's business, okay, that's a good one, but you may go down and you may find something like if Whole Foods said, auto service. You might say, well, Whole Foods is not auto service. Whole Foods is actually groceries, and you can create rules so that the system will automatically do that for you. But in terms of what the system does automatically, it will automatically use kind of its database and say, well, based on what everyone else is telling us, we think Whole Foods is a grocery store. So we're gonna make our best guess at that. The only thing that you kind of manually have to do are checks, because if you have a check, for instance, this is payment, it would say check. That if you want to categorize your checks, you have to actually obviously do that manually, because the system doesn't get obviously a copy of the check or who the payment was made to. And those really only apply to handwritten checks. If you do checks, through your online banking, most banks, most credit unions will actually put a description of who the check was made out to in the data feed. It's really only if you do handwritten checks, you'll probably have to classify those yourself.
Great, thank you, Troy. One other question that we have coming in, if a participant is a full comprehensive user of Quicken Deluxe, is there an advantage of using this instead or of using both?
You know, that's a really good question. I used Quicken Deluxe, and I stopped using it. I actually used Quicken for about 22 years, if you can believe that. And since I've gotten onto this system, I haven't used it anymore. And I'll tell you why. And each person's going to be different. This is a lot easier. The accounts are linked better. They're automatically updated, and with my Quicken, I always had to kind of go in and make sure everything was linking and properly. I'll tell you, you know, now I do my online payments directly through my bank before I did them through Quicken. So I think that's, you know, you can't do any transactions on this site. So I would say on the positive side, what's great about this is it's a lot easier to maintain on an ongoing basis than Quicken. There's probably a lot of other little things too, but I would say that's the big positive. And I would say on the negative side, which is part of the security features of this, you can't do any transactions on this website. With Quicken, you can. As you know, with Quicken, you can go in and you can pay bills and you can do things. You can establish those through Quicken, and it will then reach out to the different banking institutions and send your checks for you. There's no transactions that you can do on this website. For me personally, I don't know that having both, you know, there's advantages to each system. Both might be a little bit much to try to, you know, maintain. But for me personally, I just like the ease of use of this. It can link more accounts than Quicken could. I was having some trouble with some of my accounts in Quicken. I didn't have those problems with this portal. And for me, it was just ease of use, really. It takes me so much less time to keep my data accurate through this system than it did with Quicken. And now I just pay my bills through my bank instead of doing it through Quicken. So I think each person is going to be different. What you may want to do is try it out for a little bit. It doesn't take very long to link your accounts, so maybe just link your accounts and play around with some of the categorizations. And I think after a few months, you'll be able to kind of decide which is the right fit for you. The other thing is this is free, and as you know, Quicken costs money, and periodically you have to upgrade that. So there's a cost factor, I think, that you'd have to consider on the Quicken side also.
Great, thank you, Troy. We have actually a couple questions on this. It seems that everyone has really positive feedback, and they're wondering if family members also have access to the portal.
You know, that's a good question. Right now, the employee who is, if you're a client of ours, essentially, if you're an employee of a retirement plan that we are the advisors on and the consultants on, you have access to this portal. Now, that would apply to your spouse and everybody else because in your immediate family, because those finances are tied. In terms of you know, your brother or your neighbor or whoever it may be, currently we're not. That's, you know, unless they're a employee of one of the employers that we're managing, that's not offered. Now that we do also offer this to our clients who have wealth management accounts with us, and you can also pay a monthly fee. So for people that are not participants of a plan that we're managing or not a client of ours, we do offer this for $25 a month if you know, if you want to have the functionality. So it is available outside of our clientele, but there is a cost associated with it.
Great. Thank you so much, Troy. And I think in the essence of time, we just will fit in this last question. Does the portal, is it available on mobile devices and smartphones?
Yeah. So, and I talked about this in the very beginning, so I might have been muted though, but you know, there's a section on the lower right here when you log in that will give you information about your mobile device. The mobile functionality is really, really nice. There's also a video. If you go to our website, there's a whole video on the mobile features. And again, if you go to YouTube, and type in Personal Financial Portal, you'll see actually the first video that comes up is the mobile features of the Personal Financial Portal. We just upgraded the mobile version of it. It's really, really nice. It's basically kind of a mini version of this. If you use a tablet, you're going to get everything. You'll get the full version. If you're using a smartphone, it's going to be a smaller, compressed version. Obviously, putting all this onto a phone screen would be too much. But it's really user-friendly. You can access pretty much all the same data you can access on the website. It just has a more user-friendly kind of phone-based functionality. I probably use the mobile version on my phone more than anything. You know, I just kind of check in on my accounts periodically. It's super easy to do. Again, password protected, but I can go in with one password and I can access everything at once, from my 401k to my checking and savings and IRA and my investment accounts and insurance. I mean, everything's in one place. And you know, when you're on the go and you just need to get some information, it's nice. It's one password you have to remember to get everything. But I would encourage you to look at that mobile video. It's short, just a couple minutes long, kind of give you an intro to it, and then log in and play around with it. You can put an icon on your screen, you know, and so it's easy to access. That's what I have on my screen. So it's really nice, and this upgrade that just went through just a few months ago made it just a lot graphically better. So
Perfect. Thank you so much, Troy. So we have a lot of good questions coming in. We weren't able to get to everyone. So if you do have questions that weren't answered, please feel free to give us a call at 888-201-5488. Or you can email us at info@pensionmark.com. That's info@pensionmark.com. Once again, thank you, Troy. And that will conclude our question and answer period. If anyone has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to your dedicated service team here at Pensionmark. I thank you all for joining us today. And once again, Troy, I want to thank you for taking the time to present today.